Hey guys, what's up? This is Shaughnessy from Perilous. We're a fantasy power metal band out of Denver, Colorado. Want to thank Antichrist Magazine for having us out today. Really excited to be here and talk about our band and our new release, Creation's Call. So, the band name comes from Arthurian legend. A lot of people think that we named ourselves after the Camelot album. It's not a bad guess. We love Camelot, but actually, as we were talking about band names and things, we really went back to where Camelot got it from, the Arthurian legend. In Arthurian legend, the Siege Perilous is the seat that only the knight who can return with the Holy Grail can sit on, and anybody else who tries to sit on it dies. Which we thought was just a pretty power metal concept, and one that fit our vibe, I think, pretty well, where things are heroic but also dark. So Creation's Call is our second EP. We released our first one back in 2022. It was Betrayal of the Dracolich. That's the cover behind me over there. Creation's Call. There's a ton of stuff that happened between Dracolich and Creation's Call. Some of that is we got a lot of new members, and so they're bringing ideas into this. So we've got our bass player Eric, we've got our rhythm guitarist Cody, and really excited to fold in their thoughts and their ideas. We also our first EP was kind of homespun. We had a great engineer do the mixing on it, but there were some limitations in terms of production that we could do, from my office and other places. So we really wanted to get into the studio to record something that was just a little bit more polished and professional, and to do that we needed help, right? If you want something to sound good, you hire people to help you kind of hone what you're doing. So we were working with Nick Norder from Rusty Sun Audio, and it turned out absolutely amazing. Each track, I think, has its own feel, its own vibe, and I think is super polished. We kind of bounce back and forth between a few different ideas and themes. So we have Across the Rubicon, which is our big kind of Roman sword and sandal epic, and then we have Sons of the Verdant, which is a story about a group of woodland elves trying to free their land from oppressors. And we've got Oathsworn, which is about a battle through time against overwhelming odds. And then Creation's Call, which asks like a very heavy metal question, which is like, what would happen if you could speak with the creator of the universe, and would you go insane? Of course, our answer is yes, because that's the metal answer. And then we wrap up the EP with Brothers of the Five, which is kind of an ode to chivalry and heroism. And so we end it on kind of on a very triumphant note. So pretty excited about that. Across all 5 of the tracks on the EP, I think the lyrics bring things that are a little bit different. There are times when the lyrics act almost like rhythmic. There are times when they're really like carrying their own melody, and the important thing is that across all of them, especially because this is power metal, and it's such an important part of it is the narrative storytelling, and each of these tracks tells a character's story from kind of start to finish. They're all self-contained, but there certainly are themes and ideas that interweave between all 5 songs. So the EP cover art was done by my friend Melissa. She's also the one that did Betrayal of the Dracolich. She's an amazing fantasy artist. I used to work for her at her Dungeons and Dragons themed bar up in Fort Collins, which unfortunately is closed now. And now she lives in Japan, where she's teaching English. So it's been really nice to have that, have the artwork and have that those kind of projects, to give us, a reason to kind of hang out and chat with each other and have something to kind of work on together. Not that I did very much. I just kind of vaguely describe what kind of dragon I need, and she does an amazing job bringing it to life. But really excited about this one. The EP cover art shows Aeon, the dragon of time and creation, breathing life into the universe. So I think it has this really cool, epic feel, and I love the color palette in it with the blues and the purple and the kind of cooler colors. I think that's really fun, and I think has a little bit of a different vibe than some of the color palettes we see a lot of times on heavy metal album covers. So in terms of my livelihood outside of music, I'm a high school history teacher. That's what I do. That's what I do in the during the day. So prepping this release for the end of August has coincided with the beginning of school once again, which means I have been very busy. But it's all been very exciting. I love being a history teacher. I bring a lot of I think, my knowledge in there into our storytelling, in Across the Rubicon. And I should have mentioned this when we were talking about the lyrics, but the final iteration of the chorus we do in Latin, and I wrote that. I have just enough Latin to make that work, and then I have friends who are much more versed in Latin that I had check the lyrics and make sure that it was at least grammatically correct. I'm sure if Cicero were around today, he would tell me that I speak Latin like an infant, but it is grammatically correct. And so I bring that, and being a storyteller is a huge part of being a history teacher. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's a big part of it. And so I love the fact that whether I'm on stage or I'm in the classroom, I get to tell stories all day, and tell stories that hopefully help to inform people's worlds and help them understand things that are happening around them. So in terms of when I first discovered my interest in metal music, it was almost exactly 20 years ago. I think it was maybe like April or so of 2004. My friend Patrick, who briefly actually was the lead singer for this band and I was playing guitar, introduced me to, that was the year that Iced Earth came out with The Glorious Burden, and he knew that I was a big history buff, and so he said, "Hey, Shaughnessy, you got to check this out." And I fell in love with it immediately. And it was kind of in that same year I discovered Iron Maiden, Manowar, Rhapsody, and just Hammerfall, and a lot of the other bands that so massively influence what we do today. So it's been a story kind of 20 years in the making. I took a long break from trying to do heavy metal. I've been in a folk band called the Stubby Shillelaghs since 2010, and so we still do gigs from time to time in that band. It's slowed down a lot. So I was looking for a project, and I really wanted to go back to the music that really drove my passion for music, which was heavy metal and power metal. And so it's been amazing to have that opportunity to come back and learn how to craft this music, and to really have to work to get good enough at it to cut the mustard with the big boys, the other people in the genre. And I'm hoping that Creation's Call, that the audience feels that we're at least worthy of the title. I think we've got that right. There's always growth. There's always new things to learn and to try as artists. But I think that this is a huge leap forward. I'm incredibly proud of the work that the whole band has done. I think one of the reasons that I work so hard in this band is because the other musicians in the band, Scott, Eric, Mark, and Cody, are so incredibly talented that My keeping up is to just work my butt off, to try to help push us forward and to promote the music that we all make together. Um, in terms of obstacles I've faced as a musician, I mean, one of the big ones is that I'm getting into this game a little bit older. I'm 36, so not like, you know, for one, what is age and things like that. But it's a little different. I have a son. He was born in February, right after we finished recording, and actually our engineer slash producer Nick, um, his son was born at right around the same time as my son, and so in the studio. We were constantly kind of sharing hopes, fears, tips, um, and things like that as we were both getting ready to embark on the journey of fatherhood for the first time. But it's definitely been tough. I mean, I'm recording this right now because I managed to squeeze in some time between when I put him to bed and when I have to go to bed myself. So time management is super key. Um, but we're making it work. It just requires everybody to kind of be on the same page and be able to schedule things, and then it's amazing the stuff you can get done. Um, is there a specific non-metal genre or artist you'd love to collaborate with? Um, I mean, that's tough. I think as a power metal band, it would certainly be really cool to work with one of the greats in film scoring, because I think that that cinematic element is something that makes power metal powerful. And then that borderline with the symphonic metal. So I would say somebody like Hans Zimmer or Howard Shore would be really really cool to work with. Um, there's there's a medieval folk band out of Belarus called Stari Olsa, who I would also really like to work with. I watched a live stream that they did during the pandemic, and they're amazing musicians. They're all multi instrumentalists on these weird, crazy medieval instruments, and I think that would absolutely be a hoot. There's so many people I'd like to work with that it's a little hard to make a list, but I think that's a good kind of short list, and some other directions that would be fun to kind of explore through our music. And I've worked in other genres. Like I said, I am still a folk musician in the Celtic folk genre. And my very first band, I was actually in a Blues Brothers tribute band playing Jake Blues in Scotland. There was me and one other American. We were the Blues Brothers, and then everybody else was Scottish, English, or we did have one Italian in the band as well, one of our guitar players. So, um, how I perceive the evolution of metal music over the years, I mean, it's interesting because it's it's gotten fragmented, right? It's fragmented into all these subgenres, and there's no way to avoid the subgenre discussions when you're talking about metal. I try to avoid them as much as possible, and sometimes somebody puts a label on their music, or on somebody else's music that I just don't think super fits. And we might talk about it, but ultimately, at the end of the day, good metal is good metal. I think that there's a pretty big distinction between the things that are melodic in nature and focus on melody, and things that focus either on technicality or kind of brutality and edginess and things like that. And I can appreciate all the different genres of metal. Um, I think that sometimes the fragmentation can be a bit of a struggle because it makes it tough to create like a unified metal community, I guess I'd say. But overall, I think that like the future of metal is super bright. I think that we saw with the Paris games and Gojira, right, that people are, I think, grasping onto the energy of heavy metal again. I think it's saying something that appeals to people, and it always ebbs and flows, but it never dies, and I love that about heavy metal. When I came into heavy metal, it was, it was not at like a high point, but it became a high point because in the kind of early to mid 2000s and late 2000s and things like that, these power metal bands were creating amazing albums, amazing journeys, amazing stories. And I think that whether or not you think that that trend overall continued, right? Whether we're at a high or a low point right now, I don't really know. I know that there are bands making amazing music. I'm a huge Twilight Force fan. I think that I think that their music is just absolutely incredible. I think it's really diverse. I really like it. I'm a huge fan of Windrose. I finally took my dad to his first heavy metal concert about a year ago. That wasn't Siege, and it was Windrose. I think that I think that metal's getting into a really good place right now, partially because I think I think fans, even though the genres are fragmented, I think fans are kind of more united in purpose. We're less likely to get into nitpicky arguments about things. I think I've found that at least kind of the area of metal that we've been working in is so much nicer than I thought it was going to be. To be honest, I was a little intimidated at first, but then all the people we worked with, whether that's people at the local level, Soren Bray and Celestial Wizard, or whether that's people I've worked with who are kind of in the international scene. I've been doing vocal lessons with Kristen Starkey from Temperance and Twilight Force, and she's been amazing, and it's been a really supportive community, which I just didn't know what to expect because I had never kind of reached out there, outside of kind of my own like group of friends who all loved this music, to see what it was like, and I kind of assumed that it was going to be challenging and that maybe everybody wasn't going to be so nice, but that wasn't what happened at all, and I'm really really pleased with that. Okay, rapid fire. My thoughts on AI generated cover art. Um, there are bands that don't have a lot of money, and if they need to use that so that they've got a piece of art to get their album out there, I don't think that's something we should immediately like be mad about. I would much rather always pay an artist to create a custom piece of art that has all the details, all the nuance, and all of the things that I need. So that's that question. Boom, done. First album that I bought with my own money. Oh man, now I have to admit this on camera. It was the debut album from the Backstreet Boys. I was like 8. That was the first album I bought with my own money. I think the first metal album. I'm gonna steer it back. I'm not super embarrassed by that. They're really talented singers. Okay, I'm a little embarrassed by that. But the first metal album that I bought with my own money was Brave New World by Iron Maiden. And it's still, I think, one of those like quintessential albums. There's not a bad track on it. It just slams start to finish, and I think that there's other pieces of Iron Maiden's work from the aughts that also compare to the work that they did in the 80s. But I think that one, like hands down, I think matches toe for toe with all of my 80s favorites. Number of the Beast, Power Slave, Peace of Mind, Fear of the Dark, which I think was 1990, but yeah. Weirdest fan interaction I've had. So, one of our friends, Gray, he's a fan of ours. I think I can count this one, but he has this habit of leaving these little like cartoon rubber phalluses everywhere he goes. It's just like it's a thing that he does. He's constantly just got like a bucket of them in his truck, and he had snuck some into our merch box one day, and I was going to help somebody who was like buying a T-shirt or something. I was like grabbing change, and all of a sudden, like three of these like popped out as I was grabbing change, and I was really kind of embarrassed because, I mean, for one, like I was older than this fan. It was also a young woman, and so I was super embarrassed. She didn't like she wasn't too impacted by it, but I was really embarrassed by that one. Um, yeah, I think that's the weirdest fan interaction that we've had. My favorite non my favorite non metal song. Um, that's really tough because I have very eclectic musical tastes, and playing in a folk band for almost 15 years. There's a lot of them in that genre that I really like. Caledonia by Doogie McLean is one of my favorites. We did a recording of it and had played it in the Stubby Shillelaghs. I really like that one, and I got to see him and meet him a few years ago when we were out in Scotland. That was a really special kind of music experience. So I'd say I'd go with that one. Um, but there's a little bit of bias there too because it's also a song that I've played. Um, Future plans for Siege Perilous. Um, so it's really nice that in a lot of the reviews, one of the critiques of the EP was that they were hoping it would be a full album, and that they were just wanting more, which is like really cool. Sounds like I'm tooting my own horn. I can shoot you the textual proof. So that is on the way. We are in the middle of writing it right now. It's the songs are sounding really really good right now. I'm really really excited for all the work that everybody's been doing on those tracks. We will be kickstarting it sometime early next year. We haven't set a date, and then hoping to record sometime next summer. And then when we release it, I don't know. We might shop it out to the labels, and see if anybody's interested in partnering up with us. That could help with some of our logistics and things. But we're also happy to self-release, just like we're doing with Creation's Call. There's advantages and disadvantages to both kinds of arrangements. So we're really excited about that. Um, we're really excited about Mile High Power Festival, which we're playing this weekend. So there's a very good chance by the time you see this, if it's after August 24th, that we've already played. And please visit our Facebook and Instagram to see the pictures. Um, but we've always got stuff in motion. There's always irons in the fire. And the main thing is, like, we don't need to be, running a mile a minute every minute. But one of the things that, like, we all have kind of agreed on is that we want to keep moving things forward, right? At a reasonably consistent pace. We all have jobs and other things that we have to see to and take care of, but we're all really driven, to continue to create music and see where this wild ride can take us, because it's already taken us in such amazing directions, and really let me, like, fulfill a dream that, like, honestly I didn't know that I would be able to. I've done music for a long time, and especially when I stepped into the kind of the vocalist position here, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to try to get better every time. Every time I'm up at the mic, whether that's band practice or whether that's in the recording studio, and I think it's paying off. I think I still have a lot of getting better to do, and I'm going to continue to work on that. But we're really excited for the journey that Siege Perilous has been on, and the adventure that we all have together ahead, because we love making this music for you guys, and we've been really excited by the positive reception that Creation's Call has gotten already, and it's not even out yet as I'm recording this video. So we really hope that you enjoy it. Make sure to follow us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're just about everywhere. So we hope you enjoy Creation's Call. Have an amazing day, and rock on.